Good afternoon and welcome to the Clergy video check-in for today, Tuesday, July 28th. In yesterday's video check-in, Rabbi Hirsch spoke a little bit about how we've just begun the book of Deuteronomy and how this book is a little bit of a repetition and includes a recounting or retelling or just an additional excerpt of something that had been told earlier in Torah. And one example of that is the Ten Commandments. We have them in Exodus, and lo and behold, we have them again here in Deuteronomy in this second telling. So I wanted to combine a little bit of that idea with something we also talked about a couple weeks ago, which is, again, one of my favorite, it's not a blessing, I guess, song poems of our Shabbat worship, and that is Lecha Dodi. So, the second telling of the Ten Commandments, which Rabbi Hirsch referred to, has one difference. And that difference is in the commandment for the keeping or remembering of Shabbat. And that is the difference right there. We have two words. The word shamor, which is keep or guard Shabbat. That's what we have here in Deuteronomy. Or back in Exodus, instead of shamor, we had zachor, which is to remember Shabbat. Now, I once heard Anat Hoffman, the director and founder of Women of the Wall in Jerusalem, an incredible woman, an incredible speaker. She was talking about her love of the Hebrew language. And she shared this little anecdote, which I just remembered from many years ago, which is, in English, we have 10 words that mean the same thing, 10 synonyms. And in Hebrew, we have one word with 10 different meanings. That is certainly, it may sound like an exaggeration, but it's actually pretty true. The English language has apparently somewhere around 171,000 words, and even modern Hebrew is thought to have somewhere in the 30 to 35,000 words range. So many more words in the English language with all kinds of nuance. It makes me think of that. I don't know if you've heard that in some Inuit languages, they might have all sorts of words for different types of snow, depending on the qualities of the snow. So in Hebrew, it really is the other way around, that we have multiple meanings, a real depth of meaning for even a single word. And in this case, we have two separate words. They are two separate words, shamor and zachor. But in the first verse of Lecha Dodi, the poet there says, shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Speaking of God's creation of the world, creation of Torah, says shamor v'zachor, to guard, to keep, and to remember, all in one word. So what might that word have sounded like? Not only does each of those Hebrew words have its own depth of meaning, but the poet is saying as if God had said both versions of the Ten Commandments at the exact same time and come up with that one word saying shamor and zachor, but at the same time. Of course, we can't say that, but we can describe it, and it's just a wonderful mystical interpretation of that difference. Yes, we can talk about the nuance of meaning between to keep and observe versus to remember, and they might have some shared aspects, but they really are saying two slightly different things. But how might it have been that we know that both of those things to be true at the same time and to encapsulate that depth of meaning in one word? So it makes me think of one last thing that I want to share with you today, and that's even the name of God, the very name of God. So a mystical interpretation, and even a more literal interpretation, says that that name of God that we have, 4 letters, Yud, He, Vav, He, that we don't know how to pronounce. We are told not to try to pronounce it. If you were to try to pronounce it, a lot of anglicized, non-Jewish pronunciations say something like Yehovah or Jehovah or something like that. But in Hebrew, those 4 letters, it has the academic term, the tetragrammaton, the 4-lettered name, is not only unpronounceable, but it's unpronounceable because it's a very similar thing to that shamor v'zachor in one word. The 3 words that are encapsulated in those 4 letters for the name of God are the past, was, the present, is, and the future, will be. In Hebrew, that's haya, hoveh, and yiyeh. And if you were to say all of those three things at the same time, you would come out with the four letters Yud, He, Vav, He. Of course, we can't say those three words at the same time. So those three words together, superimposed upon one another, create the name of God, which is another reason that we call the name of God the eternal, the past, the present, and the future, was, is, and will be, all at the same time. That's our spiritual and mystical and grammatical message for the day. See you all soon.